So this next video is the horrible truth about people with type O blood. And for the life of me, I don't know my own blood type. I was sitting here thinking about it. I don't know what blood type I have. I have no, that's sad, isn't it? Sad. Grown man don't even know his own blood type. I'm gonna figure that out before the next video, but y'all know your blood type? Or is it just me that's just out here just being, I don't know. Let's check the video out.
An unusual blood type found in Native American families has left scientists in shock. Despite being known for some time, its significance remains unclear. Researchers speculate it could unveil insights into ancient migrations and long-hidden secrets, perhaps even shedding light on the earliest human settlements. However, a lot of mysteries remains to be learned and understood. Do you want to know if your blood type is unique? Come along as we investigate the intriguing mysteries of this blood type within indigenous societies. What's your type? The story behind A, B, and O blood is much more than just something that flows through our bodies. It is extremely important and complex, with a long history that involves our genes and how humans have evolved over time. Let's talk about what makes our blood different from one another, which is mainly the blood group system. This system sorts human blood into 4 primary categories: A, B, AB, and O. What decides if you are type A, B, AB, or O? It's all about whether there are specific things called antigens on your red blood cells. Think of antigens as little flags that can tell your body's defense system, hey, it's me, or signal that there's an intruder. In terms of blood types, these flags can be proteins or sugars sitting on your red blood cells. If your blood type is A, then your red blood cells have A antigens. If it's B, they carry B antigens. People with AB blood have both, making them unique. Then there's the mysterious type O. It's special because it has no A or B antigens at all. Because of this, type O blood is known as the universal donor. This means it can be given to almost anyone in urgent situations, like surgeries or accidents, without their body fighting it off. But there's a curious case. Why is type O blood more common in native populations of the Americas? It seems to do with how we as humans have adapted to our environments through history. Not having A or B antigens might have given some people a better chance at staying healthy, especially from certain illnesses. This advantage might have helped them survive and pass on their type O blood to new generations. Also, some think that type O blood might protect better against serious sicknesses like malaria, though this is more about people's health in Africa rather than in the Americas. The way blood types are spread out around the world tells us a lot about human history, how we've moved across continents, and how we've adapted to different environments. Around the world, type O is the most common kind of blood. However, how often it shows up changes a lot depending on where you are. In the Americas, especially with the original people who have lived there for a very long time, type O blood is seen a lot more often. This hints that this type of blood has been chosen through many, many years because of certain reasons. We aren't completely sure why, but it seems to involve different things like the challenges of the environment and illnesses that type O blood might have helped fight off. There's one idea that type O blood might have been really helpful for people living in very high places like mountains. They say this type of blood can carry oxygen around the body better in those high places, which would be a big help for people living up there in ancient times. The story of type O blood is like following footprints through history and across the big, varied landscapes of the Americas.
I feel like I've been being irresponsible since the fact that I don't know my blood type. Now, mind you, I don't like needles. I don't like needles at all, bro. So a person who don't like needles probably doesn't know his own blood type. And I'm that guy who hated needles throughout my entire life. But listening to this, man, and the importance of knowing and what it could do and inform you of, like, I need to know my blood type, bro. This video is just making me sit here and wish I knew my blood type before I watched this.
It's full of secrets, how people have managed to survive, and how they've changed over time. This part of the book goes deep into the mystery, following the historical clues and scientific facts that help us understand why so many native people in this big area mostly have type O blood. This story starts with how people first came to the Americas, a huge event that took place over many thousands of years. The earliest humans moved from Asia into the Americas by walking across a land bridge that used to exist where the Bering Strait is now during the last ice age. They brought with them their genetic makeup, which included the type O blood. This blood type turned out to be a quiet sign of being able to survive and adapt to new environments. Scientists have been studying how different blood types are found in native people, and they found some really interesting things. For example, a big study in the 1980s looked at Native American groups in Arizona and found something amazing. 99% of the people they checked had type O blood. And this isn't just something that happens in one place. It's something that can be seen in native groups all over, from the cold north of Canada down to the green dense forests of the Amazon. This isn't just about where people with type O blood live. It's also about understanding how living conditions, like high mountains or disease risks, might have shaped which blood types help people stay healthy and survive. Now let's ask a big question. Why is type O blood so common in indigenous peoples of the Americas? Dive into the past and nature's laws to find out. The power of O, how blood shapes lives. Why is type O blood so much more common in certain groups of people? The answer might be found in nature's own way of picking what works best, especially when dealing with tough living conditions. The first people who lived in the Americas had to deal with really cold places in the north and very high places like the Andes Mountain.
So that's kind of like, then that would be the same, I'm guessing, the same as an animal being warm-blooded or cold-blooded. You know what I mean? It's based upon, I guess, the environment, when you say. So I kind of see the similarities and parallels.
It's where there's not much air. Having type O blood might have been a big advantage in these tough spots. This type of blood doesn't have the A or B stuff on the red cells, which might have made it less likely for them to get sick from the infections that were common and very dangerous back then, before Columbus came to the Americas. Plus, people with type O blood seemed to do well in lots of different places. As native people moved around the huge area of the continent, those with type O blood might have had an easier time surviving and having families, spreading this type of blood more and more. Over thousands of years, this could lead to there being a lot more people with type O. Indigenous people living in these high up areas have type O blood. This has led scientists to think that there could be a connection between having type O blood and being able to do well in places where there's not a lot of oxygen. This part of the story is not just about survival in the past. It could also help us understand more about how our bodies work and how we can deal with different environments. It's a fascinating area of study that brings together history, genetics, and the science of the human body. Why might having type O blood be helpful, especially high up in the mountains? Let's break it down with a focus on two main ideas: blood thickness and how well blood carries oxygen, and how the body fights off illnesses. First, think of your blood like a river flowing inside you. If the river flows smoothly and quickly, it can carry more oxygen to different parts of your body. Now, type O blood is a bit special because it's kind of like a faster flowing river. It's usually not as thick as other types of blood because it has fewer of certain substances that make blood sticky and slow. This means if you're living somewhere with not much air, like high mountains, having type O blood might help your body get the oxygen it needs more easily. This could be a big help in staying active and healthy when the air is thin.
How many of us ever thought to check our blood before we decided to move to a certain location on the map? Never thought that. Probably never knew. I didn't know to think about that. Now I do. But I'm already positioned where I'm at. I'm already settled and comfortable and have made a life for me here. But if I check my area, I wonder if it's conducive for my blood type. So we may need to check our blood to know if where we're living is the right place. Maybe that could stop some of the sicknesses we're having and different things like that. You know, Queen, she deals with headaches a lot. So now we've already looked at her blood type to know what type of foods, because they say your blood type can tell you what type of foods you shouldn't be eating or stuff like that. So maybe we need to look at her blood type for the area now. Didn't know that.
Next, let's talk about fighting off sickness, which is another area where type O blood might give a person an edge. Think back to a time when people got sick a lot because there weren't medicines like we have today. Back then, if you had type O blood, you might have been less likely to get really sick from certain diseases. One example is malaria. Even though malaria wasn't a big problem in the Americas before Europeans arrived, the fact that people with type O blood were generally less sick from it is interesting. It's like having a built-in shield against certain bugs that make you sick. Scientists think this might be because the surface of type O blood cells is a bit like a smooth wall. Bugs that cause diseases, like bacteria or viruses, often look for specific hooks, like the A or B substances, to grab onto so they can attack. But with type O blood, these hooks aren't there, so it's harder for the bugs to hold on and make you sick. In both of these ways, having type O blood can be seen as an advantage, especially in the past when people lived in tough environments and didn't have modern medicine. We've looked at the past. Now let's see how type O blood helps people survive and stay healthy. We'll explore how this blood type has been helpful through history. Blood's ancient secrets reveal this idea that type O blood might have been especially good at keeping people safe from diseases, goes beyond just avoiding malaria. Imagine if type O blood was like a less welcoming home for all sorts of germs and bugs that make us sick. This would mean people with this type of blood got sick less often and didn't die as much from infections. For original communities in America, living mostly by themselves, being less likely to get sick would be a huge plus. If one person got sick, it could quickly spread to everyone. So having type O blood, which might have kept sickness away, was a really good thing for staying alive and healthy. But there's more to the story than just staying free from sickness. People's ways of eating were different all over the Americas. Some ate a lot of fish and seafood, while others ate mostly plants like corn. Some scientists think that your blood type can affect how well you can use the food you eat for energy.
See, that's what I was saying with her headaches. It affects you, the type of food you eat. A lot of people probably didn't know that. But if you suffer with headaches, look into your blood type.
People with type O blood, foods that are full of protein and fat, like what hunter-gatherers ate, might have been better for them. This doesn't have much to do with living up high in the mountains, but it adds another layer to how our blood type, the food we eat, and the place we live all work together to fit us into our world. There's a part of this that many people don't think about much, how being able to give blood to anyone in your group could make you very important. In small, close-knit groups, like the Indigenous communities, helping each other was key to making it through tough times. If you had type O blood, you could give blood to anyone who was hurt or having a hard time during childbirth, which could save their life. This would make you really valuable to your community. Being so important could mean you were more likely to have children and pass on your type O blood to them. Talking about why having type O blood could have been really useful is interesting, but we need to be careful when we talk about it. It's not right to say that having one particular type of blood is the best for staying alive. This idea is complicated because it depends on many different factors, like the type of air and ground in your place, the various germs that are present, the kind of food you eat, and how well people in your area work together. It's more likely that type O blood became more common in some areas because it helped people in a variety of ways, not just because of one single thing. Where you live in the world can make a big difference in what type of blood you have. These differences can tell us a lot about human history. Even though type O is the most widespread blood type around the world, it isn't found equally everywhere. In some places, many more people have type O blood than in other areas. In different places, there might be more individuals with type A, B, or AB blood. These variations are like small clues left behind that help us follow the journey of early humans as they spread out over the earth. Understanding these patterns can teach us a lot about how humans have moved and adapted to different environments over thousands of years. In Africa, the place where all humans first started, many people have type O blood. This fact makes people think that type O might be the very first type of blood humans ever had. But when you travel over to Europe and Asia, things start to look different. In the western part of Europe, you'll find more people with type A blood. And if you go further to the middle and eastern parts of Asia, you'll see that type B blood is a lot more common. This shift in blood types from one region to another tells us a story. It shows that over thousands and thousands of years, humans have changed in small ways to better fit into their surroundings and their communities. Now, if we hop over to the Americas and look at the first people who lived there, we discover something very special. In many of the original groups of people, nearly everybody has type O blood. This rate is much higher than the average seen around the world. This finding is super important because it helps us understand how people might have first come to the Americas. It seems that a large group of people with type O blood moved to the Americas long ago and started new lives there. This pattern is like a big hint in the mystery of how the Americas were first populated. Some scientists think the answer goes back to when there were icy land bridges connecting Asia and North America, known as the Bering Land Bridge. The theory goes that the first groups of people who walked across this bridge to get to the Americas had mainly type O blood. Once they got to the Americas, they were cut off from the rest of the world for thousands of years. Because of this isolation and factors like which people had children and which traits helped people survive in their new homes, type O blood became more and more common among their descendants. Type O blood isn't just in the Americas, it's all over the world. Let's compare and see how this blood type connects different places and people. How type O took over the Americas. The Americas were alone and cut off from the rest of the world for many, many years before Europeans arrived. This is really important to understand why certain blood types are more common here than in other places. Because the Americas were so isolated, there wasn't much chance for new kinds of blood types to come in. This means that the original blood type, type O, became more common among the people who were already living there. Also, these people faced a lot of challenges like diseases and different weather conditions, which we talked about in earlier chapters. These problems might have made it even better to have type O blood. When we look at how common type O blood is in the Americas and compare it to other places in the world that were also cut off, like some islands in the Pacific or faraway villages, we can learn a lot. These places also have their own stories and reasons for why certain blood types are more common there, because of their own history and times they were isolated. But what's really interesting is that type O blood is way more common in the Americas than anywhere else. This tells us a lot about the history and the very old stories of these lands. This topic brings up many interesting questions about how old human groups moved around, the paths they chose, and how they managed to stay alive. When we look back at the history of human movements from a long time ago up to now, we find out that type O blood, which has been around for a really long time, means a lot for modern medicine and the way we look after people's health today. By digging into the mysterious beginnings and the survival benefits of type O blood, we can see how this ancient feature plays a big role in today's healthcare, how we handle emergencies, and the overall availability of blood for medical needs. The importance of matching blood types cannot be overstated. The special qualities of type O blood make it extremely important for emergency healthcare and operations. Especially type O negative blood is super important because it is the universal donor type for red blood cells. This means
I cannot believe that I've gotten to this age and I'm just now learning about this. I'm thankful, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, man, where was this all of the rest of the years of my life? Where was this information? Now, yes, we need to follow up, verify, and probably hear some testimonials of people who probably figured this out early on and moved to a certain location and no longer are dealing with certain ailments they had because of their blood type. Like, just sitting here, man, I'm thankful, but I ain't gonna lie, I'm a little frustrated at the same time of listening to this because I was like, man, somebody dropped the ball without giving us this information.
it can be safely given to anyone, regardless of their blood type, without causing a bad reaction. This is crucial in emergency cases when there's no time to figure out the blood type of the person needing help. On the other hand, type O positive blood can't be used for everyone, but it's still incredibly useful because it can be given to anyone with a positive R or H factor, which includes a big part of people. This ability of type O blood to fit in many situations makes it very valuable, especially in situations where someone is losing a lot of blood, like in accidents or during surgeries. Because type O blood, and especially O negative, is needed so much, there's always a big demand for it all over the world. In situations like in emergency rooms, when natural disasters happen, or in wars, type O negative blood is usually the first choice for giving someone a transfusion when we don't know what blood type they are. This highlights how crucial it is for people who can donate type O blood to do so, and why there's always a need to have a lot of it ready in blood banks and hospitals. The need is constant and global, showing just how vital these donors are to the health and survival of others in times of crisis. But there's a downside to type O blood being the universal donor type. Since it's so versatile and can be used for anyone, it's always in big demand. This leads to not having enough of it to go around. The healthcare world has a tough time trying to keep enough type O blood on hand while also meeting the daily needs for medical treatments in emergency situations. This problem is something that hospitals and blood banks all over the world face all the time. Apart from just giving blood to people who need it, the fact that a lot of people have type O blood affects other parts of medicine and science too. There have been studies that suggest your blood type might change how likely you are to get certain sicknesses, like heart problems or catching infections. People with type O blood might have less chance of getting heart disease than people with different blood types. They might also react differently to some germs. These ideas have led scientists to dig deeper into why this happens.
It leads me to believe that there's a conspiracy, that this information isn't out there, that it's not wanting us to know. Why? Because that's big business for them. They make money off of this stuff. Or us constantly going to the doctor and never getting cured of an illness, and constantly coming back and forth. That's big money for them. But if we learn this stuff and know it, prevent it, stop it from happening, or slow it down, I'm gonna just leave it right there, man.
Into our genes and how our bodies work. This research could lead to doctors being able to treat people in a way that's better suited to their individual needs, including what blood type they have. Knowing more about how your blood type is linked to different diseases could totally change how we prevent and treat health problems. But the important role of type O blood doesn't just matter for health reasons. There are also big questions about fairness and ethics. Making sure that everyone has the same chance to get type O blood when they need it, especially in places where this blood type isn't as common or in areas where the healthcare system doesn't have a lot of resources, is a big worry. There needs to be more effort to get more people to give blood, to make better ways to keep and move blood around, and to work together better across countries to solve these problems. These steps are really important to make sure everyone who needs blood can get it, no matter where they are or what their situation is. Let's see why type O blood is so important today, especially in hospitals and for health. We'll learn how this O blood type still affects us now. Finding ourselves, the DNA puzzle revealed. Also, when we look into how different blood types are spread out around the world, we touch on very personal topics like who we are, where we come from, and how groups of people have changed over time. Studying this has to be done carefully, making sure people's private information is kept safe, that they agree to what's being done, and that we understand and respect the different cultural backgrounds of everyone involved. As time goes on, what we've learned from studying where type O blood comes from and what it means today will help shape how we give blood to those who need it, how we study genes, and how we make health rules for everyone. There's exciting new work being done to create blood-like products, improve how we find out someone's blood type, and change genes to help with blood shortages and making sure blood types match up. But even with these advances, the natural ability of type O blood to be given to almost anyone will probably keep being super important for saving lives in emergencies and during operations. The science of figuring out where we come from, like our DNA, has changed everything. It's like a powerful tool that shows us the hidden stories of where we and our families came from. Digging into how our blood types connect us to our ancient family lines, especially how type O blood is found a lot in the first people of the Americas, shines a light on the journeys our long ago family members took. Let's now look at how using DNA not just helps us understand the big moves and changes of people long ago,
but see, I've never been one to do that. What's 23andMe and all that type of stuff like that. You know what I mean? If I happen to stumble across it one day and I had the opportunity, I probably wouldn't turn it down. But I'm not going out and I'm not seeking it. It's not sought after for me. Like, I'm not looking. But this, even though I don't like needles, I think I'm gonna go get this done. I feel like this is very important. And then again, with the information I just learned and know now, and the information I'm gonna learn, I feel again it'll be irresponsible if I don't dig and see if I'm putting myself in the best position with my blood type.
But also helps people today feel a connection to their deep roots, like in the story of a person who is related to the famous leader Sitting Bull. By looking into our DNA, we can see the steps our ancestors took, which helps us understand more about ourselves and where we come from. The growth of DNA technology has changed how we look at family history, making it possible for people to find out about their ancestors in great detail. By looking at special signs in our DNA, experts can figure out where our ancestors came from, how they moved around, and how they met and mixed with other groups of people. This has been especially helpful for lots of people in understanding their native roots, giving solid proof to the stories and knowledge that have been shared in families for a long time.
That makes sense. Don't just let anybody tell you where you come from in your background. Don't do it.
DNA work is very meaningful for Native groups, where the stories told over time and the customs that are followed often show a deep connection to the land and to the ancestors from long ago. DNA tests can add to these stories, confirming and making the old family links stronger, or they can bring out new parts of a person's background that they didn't know about. For people who come from Native backgrounds, finding this out can be a very moving and important moment, making the connection between what's written down in history and their own personal story stronger. Being able to spot the special DNA parts that are unique to the first people of the Americas is really big. It makes it possible to feel a direct link to the very first people who lived on these lands, giving us a glimpse into the different cultures and groups that were here long before Europeans arrived. For a lot of people, learning about their native DNA is not just about satisfying curiosity. It's about getting back a part of who they are and fixing connections that were broken or hidden because of hundreds of years of control and moving people from their homes. This deep connection goes beyond just learning about the past. It has real effects on people's lives today, touching on culture, society, and even the law. For people trying to figure out their spot in the big family of indigenous communities, DNA can act like a bridge to their long-ago ancestors, helping them get more involved with their cultural customs, languages, and community bonds. Also, for some, proving they are truly connected to indigenous ancestors with DNA tests is very important. It can help them get to certain benefits, rights, and respect that are given to indigenous people. A really touching example of how powerful DNA technology can be is seen in the story of Ernie Leo, who is a direct family member of the famous Lakota leader, Sitting Bull. Thanks to DNA tests, Leo could show without a doubt that he is related to Sitting Bull, confirming a family connection that is not just about knowing who you are, but also about being part of history. Sitting Bull is a huge figure in the history of America, representing the strength and spirit of Native American people. For Leo, finding out for sure that he is related to Sitting Bull through DNA wasn't just about proving something scientifically. It meant a lot more. It was like saying yes to his family's stories and keeping alive the link they have to Sitting Bull. This situation shows us how DNA technology can link the old days with today, helping people get back and own their roots and culture in ways that matter to them and to everyone around them. Being able to find out about your native ancestors using DNA is really cool and exciting, but it also brings up some big questions and problems we need to think about carefully. We have to make sure people's private information is safe, that they agree to the DNA tests, and that their genetic details aren't used in the wrong way. Understanding what DNA tests tell us about being part of a native culture or tribe is also tricky. Being part of an indigenous group is about a lot more than just what's in your genes. It's about the language you speak, the traditions you follow, the community that recognizes and accepts you, and your everyday life that DNA tests can't show. Also, there's a lot of talk about how companies that do DNA testing and help you find out about your ancestors are making money from it. This makes people wonder about who really should be able to get, use, and make money from this kind of genetic information. It's really important to make sure that using DNA in this way helps Native people and respects their rights and views. We need to make sure that as DNA testing gets more popular, it helps rather than hurts indigenous communities. This means making sure these tests are done in a good way that respect the unique cultures, rights, and wishes of indigenous people. It's all about using this new technology in a way that respects everyone's history and personal stories, while making sure that Native people have control over their own genetic information. Is typo blood a simple genetic anomaly, or does it reveal deeper, ancient connections among the America's indigenous peoples?